because I think this is an absolutely amazing shoe. I think it represents the best value from the Western brands that's currently on the market. They've got super foam and they haven't tried to take us to the cleaners with like a couple of the other brands have done with their own super trainers. What I'm just trying to highlight here is shoe comparison I've got for you guys today. So we are going to put everyone's favorite versatile training shoe, the Adidas Evo SL, up against the new kid on the block here. So a shoe that's got some big hype, straight out of China, the Dynafish Xianian. So I'll go through their similarities, differences, and key features. And hopefully from that, that'll give you guys a great indication of choosing the right shoe for you. But before we get into it, and if you guys want to support this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And with the specs, they're both neutral road running shoes, both really versatile training shoes, and both pretty much claim to be in that super trainer category, which I don't disagree. Now, checking out the price, although the Adidas Evo SL is probably the best value for money shoe you can get from the Western brands, it doesn't come close to the price that you can get the Xiaonan from. And with the weight, so bit of a difference there in the hand. I can definitely feel it. So much lighter here with the Dynafish. Can you notice that on the foot? Well, yeah, you can certainly notice it on the run. This shoe actually feels like pretty much that you're wearing a sock, and it is lighter than a lot of the top tier race shoes out there. So for instance, it's lighter than the Adidas Pro 4, the Saucony Endorphin Elite 2, and also the Alpha Fly 3. And in the stack heights there, as you can see, we get a slightly higher stack here with the Dynafish. Now, is that noticeable on the foot? Well, yeah, you feel a lot more protected from the road and you feel higher off the ground in the Dynafish, and I think it also has to do with the geometry, because I suspect that this stack is higher than 41 millimeters in the middle of the shoe. And with the others, both shoes using a type of engineered mesh, but the mesh is quite different. With the Evo SL, it's like a really fine plasticky type feeling mesh, a couple of layers, but the breathability is excellent. Now, differences here with the Dynafish. So the mesh that they use here, it kind of reminds me of the mesh that you might see on some outdoor furniture. So it's really robust and strong. And also in the toe box, it kind of reminds me of what's going on in the Boston 13. But I must say both shoes in the breathability department are excellent, but I'll probably give the nod to the Dynafish in terms of breathability. With our heel counters though, they are quite different. So you've got more structure here in the Evo SL, so a little bit more support there. And with our heel counter of the Dynafish, it's a little bit more flimsy. There's still a little bit of structure there, but certainly doesn't have that hard cap like the Evo SL. Now with our padding in both shoes, to look at, they've probably got about the same amount of padding around the heel collar, but the padding in the Dynafish, it certainly feels softer. It's a bit more plush, and I must say it probably feels a little bit more premium. Where Evo SL, yeah, it feels, even though there's quite, yeah, it's probably a little bit more padding in the Evo SL, it just doesn't feel quite as plush. Now, totally different tongues. So with the Evo SL, we've got a really thin, racy type tongue. The tongue is not gusseted. And in the Dynafish, we get I think it's a neoprene tongue, which is fully gusseted and probably a medium amount of padding on top where you lace up. But the tongue on the Dynafish is incredibly comfortable. It doesn't float around, and it does protect you from that laces pressure. With lacing systems, so totally different lacing systems. With the Evo SL, we've got standard eyelets on either side and really thin fiddly shoelaces that they use in all the ADIZERO series. But I must say, it's still quite easy to tie up. No issues really with the laces coming undone. And with the Dynafish, bit of a mixed one here with the lacing system. So it's quite a long lacing system, and this tongue sort of extends right down here into the forefoot. But that gives this shoe a lot of versatility of how it can actually fit the shoe and provide lockdown. It's got some like straps down the bottom where the laces weave through, and then it's got standard eyelets as you come up through the eyelet chain. Now, the same kind of fiddly laces though that they use in this shoe is very similar to what's in the Evo SL, and I must say the eyelet chain here, does get a bit fiddly at the start to try to cinch down and just create a really good lockdown through the midfoot, but once you've got it nailed, it's excellent. Both shoes, I must say, in the lockdown department are about the same, no issues with either. Now in the fit, both fit true to size in length, so they are about the same yeah, the same length. But in the width, I'm going to say you get a little bit more room here in the Dynafish, and you certainly get more volume in the toe box as well, where it's a little bit more streamlined with the Evo SL, less toe box volume. And a bit of a difference here in the outsoles. So we use a CPU rubber compound on the Dynafish, one big segment, which I usually don't like. However, it is separated by this really big channel through the middle of the shoe. So that certainly lets the midsole splay. Doesn't make this shoe overly stiff like other outsoles do to some shoes. Now, the compound, it's really thin, and these lugs are quite small, so they're not going to provide the best traction if you want to take this on a dirt road, but no issues with this thing, obviously on your road surfaces or your hard surfaces. With the Evo SL, obviously market leading continental grip, we pretty much don't have any lugs here, so entirety of the forefoot, they've just got some cutouts there where you can see that exposed foam through the middle, but in general, it's quite a slick surface. So just like the Dynafish, you're not going to take this one out really on a dirt road. It's just not going to be able to grip. Keep it on the road. And we've got some clear rubber in the high wear areas at the rear. Now, both shoes have got a little bit of exposed foam through the middle of the shoe. But what is different here between the two, it's quite a big cutout here in the Evo SL. And they've also got this groove here in the arch area that does translate into the stability of the shoe, where they don't have this here in the Dynafish. So no big cutouts, it's all quite solid, and you can certainly feel the difference in stability with both shoes, which I'll cover later. And durability, well, the Continental rubber is tried and tested, so we all know that this rubber does last for a long time, where the jury's still out for me on the Dynafish Xiaonan, so I haven't run in this one as much as what I have in the Evo SL, but time will tell how this CPU rubber holds up over the long term. And in the midsole, so a few similarities here. So the Light Strike Pro, what they use in the Evo SL, is not the same foam that you're going to find in the race day shoe, or the brand new race day shoe, the Pro 4. This one's, I believe, is similar to the previous race day. So the Light Strike Pro Classic. So it is a TPEE foam. There's no plate in the shoe, but it has got a midfoot shank from about here to here. So that gives the shoe a little bit of flexibility up under the forefoot, but through the middle of the shoe, it is quite stiff. And that's there because it needs to hold this really nice geometry of the shoe. So nice early rocker, quite gentle, and it's really easy to hit, and probably one of the real highlights of this shoe. And in the Dynafish, so the midsole that they're using here, just like Light Strike Pro, is a TPEE foam. However, it does feel different to the touch. It's got a different density. Now, one big slab of that, it doesn't have a midfoot shank or a plate. Rigidity-wise though, it's still quite a stiff shoe. You can bend it, but you can sort of tell the shoe doesn't want to bend. Now, geometry-wise, this shoe has got the most amazing geometry. So just like the Evo SL, it's got a really early stage rocker, but the rocker in this shoe is more aggressive. So a bit more of a tip forward, you can certainly feel it. And also it's got a really prevalent rear foot rocker, meaning that the shoe through transition just feels a little bit more smooth as you roll through, when if you compare the geometry to the Evo SL, although we've got this really big smooth forefoot rocker, it is quite flat for the rest of the shoe. And in the rides, well, what we get here in the Evo SL, as you probably already know, for me, this shoe delivers a really smooth, rocketed and efficient ride, and that's just why I love it. It's really versatile, works at a wide variety of paces, but the foam for me, it's on the firmer side, so I don't get the soft and squishiness and the bounce that the heavier runner might experience in this shoe. For me, it's certainly much more dense. I don't get much sink, and for me, I describe it as more of a responsive ride. I do know that some runners have had some issues in the stability of this shoe, especially here through the arch area and where it's cut out. But overall, it's just a super versatile shoe. It comes in at a great price point, and I can understand just why it's such a well-loved shoe. And everything that we love about the ride in the Evo SL, when we talk about the Xiaonian, this shoe does all that, but on another level. So it is smooth, efficient, rocketed, but it's just better. So it's smoother, it's more efficient, you're more protected from the road. It's lighter on the foot. It pretty much feels like you're just wearing a sock. So it's really easy to tick the legs over. It's got more protection from the road. So Although I say it's softer, it's still not that squishy. So you sink into it to a little bit more, but it's got this really unique dampening effect. It's got more bounce, and it's got more pop and more responsiveness if you want to pick up the pace as well in the shoe. And also those issues with the stability in the Evo SL, this shoe doesn't have the cutout. So for me, it feels more stable and it doesn't have that issue. And best shoes, so both two incredibly versatile running shoes. They can pretty much handle anything that you can throw at them. Anything from jogging pace up until your threshold, you can probably even race in these shoes. I think they both do lack that real top-end aggressive race speed that a super shoe will give you, but pretty much anything under that. Now for the long run, I know a lot of runners out there don't like to do the long run in the Evo SL because they do find it too unstable. I don't find it unstable, so I enjoy this for a long run. I do think it's a touch firm though, but this shoe for me is the absolute long run king. This thing is absolutely amazing. Ticking over those legs on those super long runs, lots of protection from the road and just so efficient. And who are these two shoes best for? So the Adidas Evo SL caters for a lot of runners out there, except for runners that require some stability. I do think heavier runners get more out of this foam and enjoy the ride of the Evo SL far more than a lighter runner, whereas the Xiaonan, this shoe I think is going to please everybody. You don't have to be a heavy runner to get the most out of the foam because you can be a lighter guy like I am and you can still enjoy some softness and some bounce and some really good protection from this ride as well. So what's the purpose of this review? I'm certainly not on here just to bash the Adidas Evo SL because I think this is an absolutely amazing shoe. I think it represents the best value from the Western brands that's currently on the market. They've got super foam and they haven't tried to take us to the cleaners with like a couple of the other brands have done with their own super trainers. What I'm just trying to highlight here is this still costs $240 in Australia, where I got this delivered for $150 and you can probably get it cheaper. It delivers everything that the Evo SL does, but it does it better. It just doesn't do it better, it does it heaps better. So all I'm trying to say is the game has changed. So the game is changing, the game has changed. No longer now do I look at a Chinese running shoe and think that it is inferior and I'm not going to be game enough to try it, because this is a perfect example of where the shoe game is going. So this thing is levels above pretty much everything on the Western market at the moment, and it's just so cheap. So all I want to do is just open everyone's eyes out there, start experimenting. Don't look at these Chinese brands and go, oh, it's probably an inferior product because it's just so cheap, it's probably cheaply made. They're probably all made at the same factory. So a lot of these foams and shoes are made in the same factory. So, except there's just not the corporate greed, I think, attached to it, and all the other people that are employed in the companies that, you know, that make the costs in these shoes just keep going up and up and up and up. Every year from the Western brands, we are seeing the shoe prices climb and climb and climb. So I'm out not here to bash the Evo SL. I'm just giving you guys the opportunity to see that there is something better out there. Certainly, don't be afraid to try something that's a little bit different. And I know they're a little bit hard to get your hands on in other countries, but don't be afraid to try new things out there.